Instead, I'm going to finally begin to talk by telling you something I once read in the liner notes of the Freewheelin' Bob Dylan album. And I just used the words liner notes and album in the same sentence, so anyone who doesn't know what that means should find someone much older than them in the audience and they'll happily explain. But in these liner notes, Dylan explained that the song "A Hard Rain's Gonna Fall" was written during the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis. And he said it was a desperate kind of song, and every line in this song was actually the start of a whole nother song. But when he was writing it, he didn't think he'd have enough time alive to finish all those songs, so he put all he could into one. So somewhat in that spirit, I'm going to present to you a desperate kind of talk, a talk about individual and global self-defense. And I'm going to begin with a personal anecdote. I wasn't supposed to be born. After my mom gave birth to my older sister, the doctors told her she would never have another child. They couldn't say exactly why, but they were pretty damn certain, the way the doctors can be pretty damn certain. Fortunately for me, my mom ignored the white coats, and even though she had to spend 9 months in bed, less than 2 years after she was told that she'd never have another child, yours truly arrived. She called me her miracle baby, and I believe that this played a role in the very close relationship we always shared. In fact, the M in this book is M for Mother Love. Now, I justifiably give Bono and U2 a lot of shit about their bogus political stances, but I do like some of their music. And there's one song, "Sometimes You Can't Make It on Your Own," in which Bono wrote it right after his dad died. And I think it contains some pretty poignant lyrics about losing a parent, but there's one very, very simple line I like to share. It just reads, "That's all right, we're the same soul." When I first heard that line, I allowed this line to give me the poetic license to believe that my mom defied the medical odds by choosing to share her soul with me. And so this selfless act not only enabled her to defy the odds and for me to be born, but for us to be such good friends throughout our life, because after all, we're the same soul. Now, a little more than 2 years ago, my mom passed away, and in dealing with the devastating loss of my literal soulmate, I took a little bit of solace in another soul-related quote, this one from the book or the movie, The Grapes of Wrath. And the main character, Tom Joad, said, "Maybe we're not all individual souls, but maybe we're all part of one big soul." Incredibly basic, sure, but within that simplicity lies what I believe to be the secret. For if we were to look upon all living things, including ourselves, as part of one collective soul, how could we not defend that collective soul by any means necessary? How could we not weep uncontrollably if we were told what's happening to that collective soul right now as I stand up here blowing out hot air? For example, every day 200,000 acres of rainforest are destroyed. Imagine a planet without trees, a human body without lungs. A woman is raped every 46 seconds in America. Attempt to visualize the terror and trauma of those experiences. 29,158 children under the age of 5 die from preventable causes across the globe every day. So the next time you're at a large concert or maybe a sporting event, take a look around and get a feel for what 29,158 looks like. And then try to imagine the feelings of grief and sorrow and loss. Now, I've been doing this long enough, the writing and the talking, to know that when I get into the gloom and doom, it often leads people to say, well, he was a little bit funny in the beginning and now he's really bumming me out. I don't want to hear all this stuff. And sometimes I get the questions a week later, 2 weeks later, or via email. So I've set up sort of an impromptu Q&A now to address some of the most common questions and comments that I get when I begin to talk about the reality of what's going on in the world. So whoever has card number 1, feel free to...
Yeah, Mickey, why do you always focus on what's bad in all your talks? Don't you have anything good to say?
Okay. Now, good and bad. Now, when I began with the lesson at the beginning, if Damien really were attacked outside and it were to come down exactly as I said, arguably people would consider me to be a hero. If I randomly picked someone out of the audience and did the same exact thing to them, I'd probably be arrested. So it's context. Good and bad require context. And this particular question, my favorite answer to it was the comedian, social activist Dick Gregory was asked the same thing. And he gave this analogy that I like to paraphrase. Imagine I were a doctor, and one of you were in a car accident, you wheeled into the emergency room, and you come up to me, and I mean, you're a mess. But I tell you, wow, you have the really healthy teeth, your fingernails look great, look how great your hair is shining. I'm not going to help you. And at some point you're going to say, Doc, you got to tell me what's going on here. What's wrong with me? Now, if I told you that you had a broken pelvis and this and that, would you say I'm negative, I'm focusing on what's bad? No, we're in a crisis. I'm pointing out what's bad and I'm taking appropriate action. If we recognize the eco-crisis that we are in, the social crisis, the environmental crisis, the economic crisis that we are in, it's not an issue of I'm bumming you out. It's a matter of recognizing what's wrong and taking appropriate action. That's what you do in an emergency or a crisis situation. Who has card number 2?
But you sound so negative and you don't offer any solutions.
Okay. So the negative thing misses the essential role that critical analysis plays in a society where problems and their causes are so cleverly disguised. Sometimes when you're discussing the future, the first step is identification and demystification of the past and present. But when it comes to solutions, it's an attractive lure to try and imagine what the world could look like if we created changes. What would it look like if we brought down a violent culture and had a different kind of culture? And it's fine to do that, but when you're in a crisis situation, you want to focus on taking appropriate action. And I would dare to say that if we could create changes and have a different type of society and culture, we would then be able to recognize solutions that we cannot even see right now when we are in the heat of the moment. The first step is often to end the crisis, to stop the bleeding, and then we can think about what the future might look like. So now we're up to number 3.
But Mickey, I recycle compost and bring my own back to the market. I'm trying to do my best. What more can I do?
Good
Is
question.
that good?
Thank you. It's wonderful. Wonderful. I don't often quote Winston Churchill in a positive vein, but he got it right here when he said, sometimes doing your best is not good enough. Sometimes you must do what is required. And when it comes to what we could do, when I talk about such things, a common retort was that you seem to be making me feel guilty that I don't do enough, and you create this hierarchy of who's doing this much and that much. But one of the advantages of having a culture that's so ubiquitously screwed up is that there's so much desperately needed work to be done. There's jobs for all of us. And to use an analogy or comparison, right probably on this, where we are right now, 150 years ago, when people were running the Underground Railroad to rescue slaves, some people were risking their lives, putting their lives on the line to actually rescue the slaves. Other people were sewing blankets to give. There was jobs for everyone, and ultimately the job was done. So it's not a matter of saying who's doing more or less. But you can't get too proud of yourself for following what the mandated solutions are, composting, recycling, and so on. Now we have one more comment.
You made me feel so attacked for my way of life.
Did you say way of life?
I did.
She said way of life. Well, more than 2 years ago, just a little more than 2 years ago, Barack Obama, the Pope of Hope himself, stood up at his inauguration and declared to the world the following: "We will not apologize for our way of life, nor will we waver in its self-defense." Now, it's been said that the first revolutionary act is to call things by their true name. So let's do it. Our way of life is based on violence, expansion, consumption, domination, predatory capitalism, and most of all, denial. Our way of life means that 1 in 31 American adults is in prison, on parole, or on probation, but we live in the land of the free. Our way of life means that during a good war, we could start something called Operation Starvation, but we live in the home of the brave. Our way of life means that what passes for health care reform in this country is a bill that will leave 23 million still uninsured 9 years down the road, 23,000 dying each year for being underinsured 9 years down the road, but right now, $450 billion in subsidies to the health insurance industry. Our way of life means homelessness, it means sweatshops, it means illegal is a noun. It means over 100 animal and plant species go extinct every single day. It means there's no cod in Cape Cod and soon no ice at the North Pole. Our way of life means strip malls, it means strip mining. It means New Hampshire license plates bear the words live free or die. It means New Hampshire license plates are manufactured by prisoners. Our way of life means Mumia Abu-Jamal and Leonard Peltier remain in prison while war criminals like Madeleine Albright and Dick Cheney walk free. Speaking of war criminals, our way of life means Barack Obama can win a Nobel Peace Prize. Barack Obama takes time out from waging 2 wars to go to Oslo to accept the Peace Prize. Now, I don't know about you, but when he went up to that podium to get his award, all I could think was, where is Kanye West when we need him?